though. This is Daniela. He's one of our fellow board members. Yes.
That's the mask Monday.
I think at this point it's up to you. I mean, we're all vaccinated.
Two-time COVID already.
Yeah, really. So three guests that are going to be talking during public federal grants program. Talking about
Stomach needs to discuss about the park and not
we're going to talk more about it. Yeah, they had the first meeting about it. What we can do is have public comments so that they don't have to say it. Your update. Can you hear me now? Testing. No, I'm waiting for Kate to get here still. Oh yeah, no, they're not talking. They're I mean, something's hearing something because I see that it's like translating it on screen on the captions, but that might be their Zoom settings. I think it probably has a setting so that it does caption. But okay, yeah. I'm gonna put it on mute for a second and you tell me if you hear me because I'm at the dais right now. Let me see if this mic works here. 1 second. Testing, 1, 2. Did you hear me? It's so weird. I mean, the mic is, I have a feeling it might be because when the peer group, their mic is on mute, so it's playing it on half. But is it maybe because it's only going to broadcast what when they here? Let me see if they unmute. Then
Testing.
okay, that's what it is. Yeah.
Testing.
I'm gonna. Okay, can you hear me now? It's Let me see. I'm gonna get on YouTube here and then. Testing. Oh, no, I did hear. It was like very delayed. Okay, no, but it is coming through. Yeah, it is. It's just like it's very delayed, but yeah, yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah. Thanks a lot. All right. Yeah, it's working. All right. See the. Yeah, just make sure whenever Okay, no problem. No problem. All right, give me a second. All right, she just worked. Hey, Miami traffic.
Oh my gosh. I'm Kate Davis. Kate Davis. Nice to meet you.
Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. Calling to order the Ecology Board of Biscayne Park meeting for Tuesday, February 15th, 2022. We're going to start off today, if everybody's okay with public comments. We have a couple of guests that are joining us, and then we'll move on to the agenda items. Is that all right with everybody?
Okay.
Okay. All right, so to start off, we'd like to welcome Teresa Pinto from the peer group and her colleagues, and she'll give a little introduction about her organization, and we're going to be talking about weatherization.
How about now? Okay. So again, Teresa Pinto. Oh, sorry. Let me remove my mask. And thank you for inviting us here to speak today about our weatherization clinic. And thank you to the YouTube audience of Biscayne Park. And so we are the peer group. PEER stands for People's Economic and Environmental Resiliency Group. We are a nonprofit law firm in and around the greater Miami area. And we offer, we basically promote an economic and environmental sustainability through direct legal services, research, policy. We do a broad array of things. We can do fact investigations. We can do public records requests, like typical legal things, but also we can do research, and we can also help you write policy and things like that. But we're here today to speak more specifically about our Equitable Weatherization Clinic, which is housed within Peer Group. And this is a group inside the clinic that, let's see that screen. We are a direct legal services clinic that aims to remedy the unequal and inequitable distribution of weatherization. So we'll just explain a little bit more what that means. And I also wanted to introduce, sorry, Abigail Fleming and Sam Crystal, who will be speaking in a second to explain a little bit more about our.
Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Abigail Fleming. Nice to see everyone this evening. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about weatherization, some of the benefits, and then why we should be prioritizing equitable weatherization. Weatherization is simply the process of protecting a structure from the elements. It's also known as weatherproofing. It helps buildings really operate efficiently and also keeps the occupants safe for the long term. So in a home, this may look like plugging cracks in the wall, rerouting air vents to prevent toxic mold issues, insulating drafty bedrooms, or just replacing outdated AC units. So what are some of the benefits? I think most importantly, to reduce energy consumption, increase efficient use of water, also improve housing and just storm protection, and then better health overall. As we see here, it's very moist in South Florida, as many of you know, and there are constant issues of mold. So why should we prioritize equitable weatherization? Why is it important? It's really important when we're thinking about the energy burden. The energy burden refers to the percent of income we spend on our energy bills. Historically, communities of color, low-income communities, and the elderly disproportionately bear the most severe energy burden. So across the country, the Department of Energy has data that says the energy burden for low-income households is actually 3 times greater than low-income households. So through the process of weatherizing, we can really reduce the cost of home ownership. We can also prevent carbon emissions and pollution, and then also just build community resilience. As we know, in the current climate crisis, as global temperatures rise, we're experiencing here in South Florida an increase in extreme storms, more extreme heat days, and then an increase of flooding. So weatherizing really helps build that resilience because oftentimes marginalized communities don't have the resources to bounce back.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sam Crystal. Thank you both for setting that up. So what can we do? As peer group, we can help connect communities to weatherization resources. What this could look like would be grants for things like solar panels, energy efficient appliances, mold remediation, and home repairs. We can also advocate for more spending on equitable weatherization. We audit existing programs. We currently are working on a few of those right now, which I'll discuss in a moment. And we also are going to review and explain applications and contracts to anyone that needs it. And we can also assist with the navigation of city permitting processes and really working through actually getting your home repaired, which there's a lot of steps, and we'd like to help make that easier. So I'm going to talk to you about one of our current clients. Her name is Mrs. Richards. She is a resident of the city of Miami. Her home is currently being repaired through a program called Rebuild Florida. It's actually being rebuilt. And they do rebuilds and repairs for homes that were damaged in Hurricane Irma. We are helping her both communicate with the contractor, work through the city permitting process, and we're also doing an overall audit of the entire program itself to make sure things are running efficiently. We're helping her communicate with the program because we want to make sure that her home is a priority. So that really covers it. This is a picture of her neighborhood. Many other houses in her neighborhood are also within that program. There's a lot of other programs out there that we work with, like Catalyst Miami, South. We are partnered with the Miami Law Environmental Justice Clinic and the Miami Foundation. And there's a whole lot of other resources out there that we would love to help you connect with. Yep, any questions?
If you need any more information, that QR code, if you're at home, will take you directly to our EWC website where you can set up a consultation or reach out to us, ask us a question. And if there are any questions tonight on this, we'll be happy to take them.
I mean, I actually, interestingly, I had a conversation with Doug Coward of Self earlier today at length. And we were talking about, I don't know if everybody's aware of the FPL the huge rate increase that just happened. You're probably aware of it because you got your first bill. And if you compare it to what it was last year, it's about 20 or 30% higher or more in some cases. So it's ever more critical now than ever, the work that you all are doing. And I think it's a really great resource. I'm very grateful that you all came, and I really want to try and get the word out. I think it would actually be maybe something that we could consider having you maybe speak at one of the commission meetings that has a little more reach also, to have some residents get more familiar with it, because we definitely have residents of all income levels in Biscayne Park, and would love to give those that wouldn't normally have the resources to be able to do some of these things, and even just navigating the whole process. It's not an easy thing. We just recently converted over to solar, Daniela, and I did as well, and just the process is not it's not easy. So it's great thing that you guys are doing. I really appreciate you coming.
Well, thank you, and thank you for inviting us again. As we
Yeah.
said. And I'll just, because you mentioned Self, and they are one of our partners, and we work very closely with them, and they can provide very low interest loans to also do some of this work, and they also work with low to moderate income communities. So definitely, and then there's the county program, the Weatherization Assistance Program. Are putting together some self weatherization, like we're putting together a toolkit, sorry, to help people do kind of DIY weatherization, but then there's also municipal resources that can help you with this as well. So any of this, we're willing, we would love to help people explore and weatherize their homes.
So the
Thank you
grants
very
that
much.
are from Miami-Dade, are those a federal grant program that's managed through Miami-Dade?
Yeah.
Okay.
And most counties will have a version of the Weatherization Assistance Program, but it starts at the federal level.
Okay. And is it there's like a certain income level or
Yeah.
family income? Okay.
Yeah, the weatherization assistance program is also income. There's an income standard.
Okay.
That's what I was interested in. What is the standard?
I don't know the exact number, but it's low income communities, whereas Self does low to moderate income, so they're slightly higher.
So, I mean, is this something for our village, or is our village not?
There may be some community members that would qualify for WAP, but I will say that the WAP, their assistance caps out at $7,000. So it's like a little over $7,000. So it's not like you can get solar panels with that. But if you combine it with other programs, you can use the WAP to do the minor stuff that you need to do to prepare for things like solar panels, installation, minor roof repairs and things like that. So this community, Biscayne Park, would probably be more likely to take advantage of the Self program and the different models that they have. They have lots of different, different programs, different interest rate levels, different things that they do to kind of get homes weatherized.
So can you give an indication about the ballpark? What is the family income is qualify as moderate income?
All of that will be based on kind of the federal guidelines for the income levels. And there's a table, and I can share it with you, but I don't have the numbers off the top of my head. Do you guys know the income? Yeah, we can share it with you. I mean, as soon as we're done with this, I can look it up and probably share it with you.
When you collaborate with companies in order to improve the efficiency of the house, so roof, ceiling, windows, air conditioning, you have already some qualified partner, or each project is a new project? So
yeah, each project is a new project. So we don't work with the actual weatherization. We're more to help you get through the process of connecting to a program that does the weatherization. So it can be any program. Biscayne Park doesn't have their own, but a lot of other municipalities in the area have like kind of weatherization programs themselves. So like the city of North Miami, they have one that's called the Home Beautification Program, and residents of residents of North Miami can take advantage of that. The county has the WAP. So that's something else that you guys can consider is, implementing your own kind of mini weatherization program. And we could help you explore that as well.
But this program can cover whatever kind of family income, or there is the threshold, is the point. Because
If you implement one yourself, you can define whatever you want that program to cover. We specifically focus on, yes, marginalized communities, low-income communities, communities that traditionally have a hard time accessing these services. So for us to work with you as a client, in a sense, yes, you would have to meet some sort of standard within there where you're having issues, you don't have the resources to weatherize on your own, let's say, for our program. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you look at the the makeup of Biscayne Park, it's a pretty diverse community. And we have elderly that have been living here for a very long time, and they would be probably the ones that would be very good to give those kind of resources. And I mean, it's a very diverse community, so it's
it's actually a large portion of the residents who take part in WAP and all of these programs are elderly because their income, they're usually on fixed incomes and they can't maintain their properties, to be honest. And so they have a hard time.
About the improvement program, is something you decide after an audit about the house and things? So is the owner try to orient, like, I would like to change air conditioning, I would like to improve, all that work is the program giving the best suggestion based on the house condition, or is the
Yes.
owner trying to tell, I would like to change this and this?
It generally starts with an energy audit. So they'll go in and they'll, assess what would be the best mechanism for making your home as efficient as possible. It's if you go to self now, because that is more of a kind of a low interest loan program, there they cover lots of things and you can determine more what you would want to do. They're now even covering septic conversions. So, and I know probably
Good.
there's a few homes in Biscayne Park still on septic.
Oh,
No,
so-
all of them.
Oh, all of them are
All of
still on
them.
septic. Wow. Okay. So yeah, self would probably be a really good fit for residents that didn't really qualify to maybe become clients in the weatherization clinic. And we could definitely connect you with them, and then other residents in the community might benefit from our assistance. So
last curiosity, you put always the solar element in every kind of efficiency conversion because this allow the tax return about the entire project.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that last part about the tax.
So when there is a homeowner, and then so is a private installation, private home. If you add a solar element, so you are installing a solar system, and in parallel you are fixing the roof, putting new windows and things, everything goes under an umbrella, can be then considered on the tax fund for the next year.
Oh, the solar, like a solar panel tax
Yeah, because
incentive.
if you
I'm
just-
not sure about what's going on in the state or federally with solar panel tax. That's something that we can look into, though. Yeah, and solar panels don't always, they're not generally the first thing that's going to happen when we're weatherizing, kind of like an older home or things like that. There's a lot of other work that goes into it.
Because the point is also is a green investment where you will also limit the cost of electricity for the future. But until there is this federal program where you have 26% tax return, if you spend 20,000 or 100,000, okay, it's not this amount, but you have a big return. So your investment is revisit. If you are just doing air conditioning
Right.
by yourself, you will have some tax return, but not on that level. So I don't know if you are considering every time to put a green element is weatherization, because this will allow for the time being to have a better return of investment.
Right. Yeah, that's a good idea. So
Anybody from the audience have any questions?
Okay, thank you. Yes, we'll give you our contact information. Thank you again for
Thank you very
inviting
much.
us. And
Thank you
yeah,
very much.
please let people know. And
will.
we would definitely come back to a full commission meeting.
Yes, yes, let's do that. Thank you. Okay, so up next, one of our fellow residents, Joe Moore, will be speaking regarding native landscaping and some of the programs going on in surrounding municipalities. And she can explain a little more. If you want to say your name and your
Sure.
address as well, please.
Sure. Joe Moore, and thank you for inviting me to speak or allowing me to. We live at 1007 Northeast 115th in Biscayne Park. So little history. So I'm new to Biscayne Park. As of the day before lockdown, my furniture arrived back in 2020. As a connector to people, I found this organization called Bound by Beauty. Mary Benton, some of you all may know her, environmental activist that lives in Miami Shores. And as a result of that, I spent a great deal of time in our yard and creating pollinator gardens and reading a lot about the landscaping. I come from Texas, where the growing season is completely different. So I've had a lot to learn. Our home already had a lot of native plants, but I was interested in particular in pollinator gardens and her organization, Bound by Beauty. So my goal this evening, I think Alex sent to you maybe last month, this purpose and importance of greening maps, if any of you had the opportunity to read it, the board members. Anyway, my goal this evening is to bring to the Ecology Board's attention an initiative that Mary is involved in through her group Bound by Beauty. And she's doing this in Miami Shores, and it's greening maps. And I'm going to read a little bit. I had her kind of give me some pointers. So again, at her behest, I'm presenting this. So species extinction and the loss of biodiversity is happening at an accelerated rate due to habitat loss, climate change, and the use of toxic chemicals in the landscape. So what they have done in Miami Shores, her Bound by Beauty group, is they've taken a plot map of all the homes in Miami Shores. They have had residents actually fill out a questionnaire. The goal is to have a greening map that will let people know that you're not using herbicides, not using pesticides, you're pollinator friendly, and all of that. So and they're also trying to get the municipality of Miami Shores not to use herbicides and pesticides. And they've got a big butterfly circle. If you've been there recently, you may notice that that's something new. So the whole point in greening maps is giving gardeners a chance to show their neighbors their commitment to protecting the environment. You create a visual representation of what's happening on the ground in terms of where and how chemical-free spaces exist, including those that are pollinator friendly. Incentivize neighbors to stop using chemicals. The idea is not to shame people, but on their website for Miami Shores, you can actually go to boundbybeauty.org/greening-south-Florida. And they have a map representing all the homes at Miami Shores that are toxic chemical free. So again, at her behest, her desire is to have Biscayne Park, El Portal, other communities create this kind of a greening map. And that's basically the gist of it.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I mean, I think we already have residents that are doing this. This is a pretty active community when it comes to that. Kate is very well entrenched in that side of the community. She can probably comment better than I can, but I think it's a great thing. I think we should do it.
It's going to take, I would be the let me back up. I'm not going to be the person to do this, so I wanted to bring this to the board, and I can get you in touch with the people through Mary's group, through her website, and to kind of get the ball rolling. Because what we need to do is take a scan of a Biscayne Park map with all the addresses. I'm new here, so I don't know anybody virtually. I mean, I know a handful of people. You all are plugged into those folks that are really into native gardening and pesticide free. There may be some folks you could tap into to get people's addresses if they're interested in doing that. Patrizia is a woman that is part of her organization, and she just uses the paint box to paint in all of on a big flat map. So she just had a big flat map done. She greens in all the people sign a pledge that's saying they're pollinator friendly, they're herbicide pesticide free, and then it's greened into the map and then it's put on their website. It would probably require updating it monthly. And again, her goal is to see more South Florida communities involved. Any other questions? I might be able to answer some specifics.
I guess my question is creating the map, not like what's the specific purpose of creating the map? Is it to just make the neighborhood aware of who
I think
is
it's
involved,
awareness.
or is there some type of initiative, or is the community as a whole going for some type of greening effort or recognition from the state?
I don't know that it's for recognition from the state, but are you familiar with Bound by Beauty? Have you been?
I'm not, but I'm familiar with the Florida Friendly Yards.
Okay. If you will access boundbybeauty.org, there's a whole section on these greening maps. And again, I think Alex has got a document that has bits and pieces of what I just read that he can send to you. It's mostly a visual representation just to see how far have we come, where are we, that type of a thing.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And I'm totally for the effort. And I think it's very important. Some of my biggest concerns are residents think that they're doing good and that they're not using herbicides or pesticides. And then all of a sudden, they have landscapers, and I see this all the time. This is what I do day in and day out, is they think that they're doing a good job. And then all of a sudden they have these landscapers come in who are throwing all this stuff all over their yard, and they had no idea. And they're like, why are all my plants dying? Why don't I have butterflies? Why don't I have hummingbirds? Well, it's because your landscapers took everything out. So I wonder if there's a component to that with that initiative.
They're in the process. So we had a meeting on the phone yesterday, sort of about this mapping methodology, in case y'all have questions about it. And one of the things that did come up is for the homeowners to ask their gardeners if they're interested in this initiative. Are you using pesticides? And if their gardeners are using pesticides, then they need to figure out a different way to garden.
Right.
If
Okay. So that's
important to
good.
them.
Yeah.
So that's a question that an interested homeowner would need to ask their gardener, once they
Right.
realize how important it is. So again, I would have everybody go to Bound by Beauty and really see this whole initiative. It's really amazing what she's been able to accomplish just in 2 years with the
Yeah.
boots on the ground kind of group.
Thank you for answering that, because that is good. At least
Yes.
that's taken into it. And I will definitely check it out. And I have read some of her articles and seen some of the stuff she's done. And it's great to see that there's people taking that initiative in
so
this
dedicated,
community.
and she's persistent. So the greening map section is something worth reading. One of the folks on the phone call from El Portal had started talking to people all along the river. She was targeting the homes on the river and putting flyers on their doors because you don't want all the pesticides to go into the river, right? Or the canals. And one of the ladies there was talking about the fact that during a certain season, November to April, when the manatees are breeding, or that it's against the law to have these chemicals that would go into that canal. Probably is against the law anyway. But so there was some really good reasons for people not using pesticides and herbicides. As I say, if the board is interested in taking this up, I can put you in touch with people who can help create the map and give you some more details. Going to rely, I think, on people who are savvy with social media. Y'all are connected with people who are environmentally conscious here. I'm not that person yet. Maybe posting it on Nextdoor.
How is it currently being done? How are they current homeowners in Miami Shores submitting their information, or is it just?
Well, they submit their information. So MEMA in Miami Shores. So you go to the Bound by Beauty website, again, this greening, boundbybeauty.org/greening south Florida. And there'll be a questionnaire. So you are having to rely on the people that answer it being truthful and honest about the fact that they're not using herbicides or pesticides, and they know that their gardeners aren't either. And you answer the questionnaire, that particular name goes to the map person, and then they green in that space. And then probably once a month, a new map gets updated to Bound by Beauty's website. So again, this is very much a Bound by Beauty initiative, but the desire is for the greening of, in our case, the greening of the park or the greening of the village, greening of El Portal, and have a bunch. Wouldn't it be cool to see a bunch of communities, all green,
Yeah.
not red?
So everything is based in auto certification, right?
Pardon me?
Is a kind of auto self certification. You are not using
Right.
chemical. There is not a methodology to test and check.
No, but it is interesting. I'm going to read this one paragraph that she has in here. She says, "We don't shame residents who use toxic chemicals by turning their gardens red. Instead, we leave their gardens blank. However, if it cannot be verified that toxic chemicals are not used in public spaces, we color those public spaces red." So they're very hot on public spaces and big spaces because they're working very hard with Miami Shores to make them green. But as far as the individuals themselves, you have to assume that they are committed enough that they would go through this process of answering this questionnaire and be honest. But yes, there's no governmental body.
This portal or website is also proposing products that are chemical free and thing can be used. Can help the gardener or not?
Can it help the gardener?
Means there is a list of product allowed to be used, because the point is, if you really leave wide nature, trees will grow in whatever weeds and things, and it will be not always gentle to see. So I don't see how this can combine an aesthetic factor sometimes with just leave the nature, get free.
Oh, I understand.
Is-
Do you know, and I'm trying to think the name of his company. Kate, you may know Chad.
Yeah, I don't.
I know that he's organic pest control. And so he may work with people in Biscayne Park
I've heard
towards,
of him, but I can't
that
remember it
area.
off the top of my head.
urban habitat,
Yeah.
Howard's somebody else. And I know what you're saying. I do agree that it's going to take beautiful spaces for a lot of people to want to do this in some regards. And I think that you need to see more of that. But there are people in Miami Shores. In fact, it would be interesting to do a field trip, because when I first connected with Mary, I wanted to see her pollinator garden, and she was not able to show me, but she turned me on to two other ladies in Miami Shores whose front yards essentially were pollinator gardens. And while they're not conventionally beautiful, all of we now have, I don't even know, 8 different varieties of butterflies. We have hummingbirds, we have painted buntings, we've got everything now. And while we had a little bit of that before, the beauty comes in what you can see as a result of it. And I know that's hard for a lot of gardeners. I get it.
The point is really to have some more hand work. Is not using chemical. You're just going more often to select the plant will survive or not.
It's about native plants primarily, and finding places that are a beautiful representation of native gardens. I agree with you there.
Right. And I think that once we work on the website, there's chemicals, like non-invasive chemicals or natural solutions that you can use in your house to prevent certain diseases or
Right.
insects from eating your plants.
Right.
There's certain organic or natural ways that you can treat your plants. It's like information, like I'm looking at the website as we speak. I don't necessarily see that, but that could be information that we give out to residents.
Yeah.
Oh,
and-
things
and
like
may-
that in addition to native plants.
And programming, I think Alex and I have just talked briefly. I think probably part of y'all's mission is to do programs for people maybe within the village talking about, I mean, there's so much, native plants, what you can use in your home, that's toxic free. I mean, it just, the list goes on. But I wanted to bring it to your attention to see if it was
Thank you.
something either you all felt Biscayne Park was ready to implement, and if you need more answers to questions, I can either help you or turn you on to Mary and her team.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think it would be worth talking to Mary. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you
You're
for
welcome.
presenting. I think it's a really good
You're
initiative.
welcome. Nice to meet you.
Looking at the map right now, and it seems pretty straightforward and
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see if the village is using pesticides and fertilizer. I don't know. I don't know
yeah,
the answer to
they
that.
are. And our butterfly garden, that's why we don't have butterflies. In the butterfly garden, we saw them like spraying. So I don't know, maybe things have changed. I haven't, but this was just my firsthand experience a couple years ago. Them in the butterfly garden or Public Works spraying the plants with pesticides. And I was like, oh, this is defeating our purpose. So hopefully things have changed. I mean, we brought it to their attention, but I'm not there all the time to see what happens, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a new public works director, so maybe you can have a conversation.
yeah, we definitely should, I think that's the first start is looking to see what we're doing in our own green areas to see what type of chemicals and pesticides as well as fertilizers are being used.
Well, Barbara can probably actually comment on all of those things that we just talked about. It's actually a perfect segue if you want to go up.
Hi, good evening. Oh, boy.
If you guys need to leave, don't feel rude for leaving.
Thank you. Thanks again.
you.
Really appreciate it.
Information. I'm getting a new roof and I'm looking into solar and a million people are calling me and I don't know what to do. It's so confusing. Okay. Yeah, well, I'm looking at, but I have too many trees. That's the problem. And even the roofing people say, lady, you've got to maintain your roof. And I've got all this bamboo and mango trees and everything. So anyway,
Don't be so sure about that. They tried to dissuade me from not doing solar, and because I have 3 huge trees in front of my house.
Yeah.
And so I just put solar panels on the other side of the roof and the front, and it's
Mhm.
fine. It's producing. So
yeah, I've thought about that. And I thought I worried about, having someone else do the roof and then at the same, then putting solar on that I might violate the guarantee, warranty or whatever. But so, okay. All right. Well, thanks. And actually, yeah. Oh, okay. Well, good, because I've talked with somebody and now I'm getting about 6 phone calls a day from solar people and I'm just, don't know. But I did talk with someone, I think connected with FPNL, and they did tell me that I didn't qualify. So, but I don't use air conditioning much, so my bills aren't that high. So that's a problem too. All right. But if this other company can help with mold, I would really appreciate that. Okay, but now let me introduce myself, and I want to say thank you very much for letting me come to speak. My name is Barbara Watts. My address is 720 Northeast 118th Street. I was a commissioner some years ago, back in the day, I think, it's maybe 7 to 8 to 10 years ago. And yes, I worry about, is this not working? Okay. The chemicals that we use in the park. Good. Okay, especially not only the butterfly garden and all, but actually the very costly green playing field in the rec center, the soccer field, or whatever they call it. It needs to be sprayed for chinch bugs and other things several times a year, and I don't know what chemicals they are using. I was wondering when, Joe was speaking, whether or not you could propose to, for the commission to pass a resolution stating that we would no longer, the village would no longer use pesticides. And if there is a resolution, and sometimes with more teeth, I'm going to something stronger, an ordinance of some sort. And with respect to Joe's ideas, what I would love to see is a list, and I know Biscayne Park, we can't, the village cannot advocate one contractor, one roofer, or one landscape person over another. But if we could provide a list of those landscapers who are guaranteed not to use, who have vowed that they do not use chemicals, it might provide a means of, and we could publicize it, put it on a website somewhere, that if people, then new people moving into the park needed a landscape person, they could go to that site and hire Earth First or whatever, rather than someone that uses those chemicals. Or even as I'm sure there are links to, other sites that tell you what's non-toxic. I mean, I get them on Facebook all the time, but that's not why I'm here. So anyway, if I weren't on the Public Arts Advisory Board, I would ask to be on the Ecology Board. Even though I don't have that many qualifications, I have friends who do, because I'm from FIU and a very close friend of someone in who was in environmental studies. And I see, is it Kate? You went to FIU?
Yes, I did.
Yes, I did. And I was amazed. I looked at and I'm not going to go on too much, but I looked at all of your CVs, and I'm in awe, because 10 years ago, there was only one person in the park who really was qualified to be on this board, and that was Tom Plisk, an environmental biologist. And there was no one else except someone who had an amateur aquarium with coral reef in it. So I'm really glad to see that we've got environmental people living in Biscayne Park. And
Tom was my professor.
Pardon?
Tom was my professor.
Oh, really? He was. Okay, great. Well, okay, getting to that, then I can segue into Earth Hour. Back in 1812, I'm not that old. In around 2012, the commission passed an ordinance, which I thought was going to be a continuing thing, but was an ordinance to observe the annual World Wildlife International's annual Earth Hour. And it's a program that has been in existence since about 2006, 2007, and it involves over 60 countries and municipalities or territories, and millions of people in a practice. Well, it's a long-ranging thing, but in a nutshell, it is symbolized, the conservation movement is symbolized by every year at the end of March, the last Saturday in March, this year on March 26th, it wants everyone to, in a sense, show their support for the planet, raising awareness of the nature and the loss and nature loss and climate change by turning off all the lights from 8:30 to 9:30, and everything goes dark. And the website, if you look at the Earth Hour websites, there are programs for children. This year there's a virtual program, there's a video that's going to come out right at Earth Hour about this, and there are all kinds of initiatives. In the past, what other municipalities do is in preparing for it, get the entire community to sign on to like one thing, one or two things of it, not like Meatless Mondays, but something along that lines of, recycle, doing or passing a resolution that we won't hire food trucks that use plastic, and you have to have wooden spoons, something like that, so that we really can make some progress here individually and as a municipality and as a community. So what we did in 2012, and then for the next 3 or 4 years, was we had an Earth Hour event here at the log cabin, outside the log cabin. And the then village clerk made luminaires, the little bags with sand and candles in it. So she lit up the just part of the log cabin area. People brought their own chairs or blankets, and we had someone speak, and ideally it would be someone from you talking about what you're doing, what your initiatives are. Tom Plisk spoke for us before, and then the village manager got a middle school student to give a little report, and that was sort of long-winded and boring, but but it showed, you know, student involvement and whatever. And then we had a folk group that plays in the community often at Luna Star to just play some music, and under the stars with no lights on and just flashlights and little kids running around with flashlights looking into the trees. We just sang "This Land Is Your Land." We had, you know, the lyrics for people. And then we just listened to music for about an hour. And it was just magical and lovely. And the next year it continued with another sort of classical jazz group, but from musicians that lived in Biscayne Park. And this year I think that we could find someone in Biscayne Park and ask the foundation, or we can get volunteers to come up with a $250 honorarium for the musicians, and just bring attention to it. And it would be a nice low-key event. Nothing big deal. We don't expect hundreds of crowds, but if we could get everybody to pull together and to be more aware, and then you could make them aware of your website or whatever things you want to do. So that's what I'm suggesting, that the art board people okayed it at its last meeting last week. Joe was there. She was on the art board. And Nancy Davis, who's also on the board, is a graphic designer, and she can help with the graphics and some of the publicity. If someone on your board wants to work with us to do this, but that would be great. But I'd like your blessing, and so that I can submit it to the commission for the March meeting, and so we can do this lickety split for March 26th. Oh, and just one other thing. Let's see, 82% of World Wildlife funds actually go directly to conservation. And it's a laudable organization. There was a challenge to its ethics and programs a couple of years ago, but on the little list I gave you, there's an article in The Guardian after a study had been done that there is no scandal and there was no wrongdoing, and it's a very credible organization. And working towards for climate, food, forest, freshwater, and oceans. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. I have to say, I did participate quite a few years ago in one of those events.
Oh, great. Yeah, I wish it had continued, but the commission's changed and I was like a lone vote on the commission. So, and also I got involved with a Renaissance Society of America conference, which at every single year it was the same weekend. So I wasn't here, and so it just sort of fell apart. But I'd like to revive it and have it just continue on and then build momentum, you know, in the coming years.
Yeah, definitely. I support it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I mean, my only input on that is that I would want to make sure that if we do actually do something, that it's something that it's not like rushed and we have time to actually do it, that people are going to be able to have time to know about it, and something that is going to, you know, be that the community is going to be able to get around it with the excitement that you have, and so I think that if we can figure out a way to organize that and work together with the other boards and do something that's meaningful and gets community involvement, definitely I think it's a great idea. It's coming up very soon, so I would, you know, definitely.
Yeah. Well, that's my my MO. I always do things at the last minute. So I apologize. But no, I just thought of it again. But I thought if we just, even if we have something small this year, that if we start planning for next year,
Yeah.
that then there can be programs for kids, and we can get ESA at the rec center
Yeah.
involved, and then we can build from there.
Yeah.
If that's what I thought.
Yeah, that makes sense to, you know, sort of plan something maybe bigger for next year, but do something this year to at least get it on the map and get people thinking about it. I think it's a great idea, and you know, something we can definitely discuss between the board chairs. And thanks, Commissioner, for being here as well. Thanks, Joe. Thank you very much. Likewise. Okay, so we had a good amount of agenda items here. I don't know if we're going to be able to get to them all because we're running kind of late here. I did want to make sure to get to Daniele, because I know he's been doing a lot of work on the, in terms of the, getting the commission to, the commission and the manager to look at, and we actually have a commissioner in front of us today. So it's actually the
Maybe I
right
can
timing.
just recap because at the end, my direct contact, what I know is McDonald. So I forward some material I present last time to him, asking if he's interested to present to the next commission. I believe it's the 1st of March, where there is some proposal about solar solution for the public administration. There are two projects for the public administration office, one for the recreation center. There was some proposal based on the energy consumption, the investment, a return of investment. And then there was in the email I was explaining some consideration can be based on the image of the green for Biscayne Park. The point about the electricity bill, we just see recently the increase with FPL, but just giving a conservative projection of 6-7% for the next year, this kind of investment can really limit the expense on energy for Biscayne Park and be self-sustainable. So in the range of the 13, 14 years, whatever investment will be paid. And then for the following 20 years, it's just paying back because you are independent from energy. And the things we were asking is if interested, we can support. We have some ideas about, and we believe there is also some program can be probably local, Miami-Dade or Florida, giving some support because as private owners, usually you have a federal tax return helping for this kind of investment. This is not valid or available for the public association, but we believe, as looking at the administration, how much is pushing about sustainable energy, solar energy, possibly there is some funds. And another thing can be quite interesting if Biscayne Park with FPL can figure like one administration. So in this area, you have like 4 or 5 buildings with some 4 or 5 bills. They are paid by one administration, but looking at the solar, because the solar work as a negative or positive kilowatt produced and absorbed, having one bill, one entity will allow to install in certain position like the recreation center, a kind of solar power plant can create more energy than whatever can consume. And this credit can be used to lower other place. So to make a kind of we are Biscayne Park, we have 5 bills become 1 bill. And with this solar investment can be smarter because you can optimize certain installation to produce more energy and cover other installation. Like this place is historical thing, is untouchable, but can be covered by another smart power plant. Yes, or the other one. Yes. So I sent an email just this afternoon, so I have not yet answered, but we are available if we can support and propose something.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be great if you send it to Judy as well to take a look. I mean, the idea is just to kind of give you some background. We thought that one of the lowest hanging fruits right now for anybody is solar energy production. But how amazing would it be that the village would be able to do that and have solar energy powering our buildings, not only for the environmental and financial aspect, but for the emergency preparedness aspect as well. So during storms, to be able to have solar energy and possibly at some point battery backup, but even if not at the beginning, that kind of talk the talk and walk the walk and just show that the village is dedicated to that. I don't know how that would work in terms of budgeting. I that's something that I don't know anything about in terms of budgeting, but right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that Daniela mentioned too, with regards to funds, is so we have this Resilient Florida grant that hopefully we're going to get in the next few months. That's going to allow us to do sort of a study of resilience within the village, and part of that has to do with emergency preparedness too. And so there's hundreds of millions of dollars that are coming through the municipalities in the state from the state legislature, and that might be an avenue for next year to be able to secure some of those funds, because depending on what that study, the resilience study, finds, that's basically the first step as a village, that we need to do that study before we can ask for any of those funds. And one big element of those funds is emergency preparedness. So if we have that, the solar energy as something that is connected to emergency preparedness, we would most likely be able to get access to some of those funds in the form of a grant from that Resilient Florida funding. So that's probably going to be a more realistic way to be able to get money for that, apart from other grants that I'm sure you've probably found as well.
I think also in the future will be more and more push about the car. Maybe on the public administration will be asked to have a charging point officially. So with the solar, you can also compensate that to have a sustainable source of electricity.
Yeah.
There is many ways to justify this kind of investment. But I don't know if really Miami-Dade or other Broward County and things, they have expand some program. I will invite to maybe look around and copy paste if there is some winning formula, maybe fitting us our village.
Okay. So I think we're going to have to kind of fast forward here. So with regards to community composting, we'll do that for next time, because the resident wasn't able to make it that presented last time about that. Renaming of an ecology board is just something that I wanted to put out there. We can discuss that next time. It's not something that's very pressing. The one that's very pressing is the recreation center design plans, and even more pressing than that, it's actually not on the agenda, but if you all don't mind, because we did talk about it a little bit last time with the swale ordinance, in terms of what kind of materials are going to be involved in swales, and changing of the ordinance so that we try to limit the amount of impermeable surfaces on swales, and limiting the amount of development of the swale, because at the end of the day, the swale is supposed to be for drainage. And so there are varying degrees of compliance with the existing code to begin with, but the commission is talking about that right now. And so we should give our input with anything that's ecology related to that. So we did talk about it last time. Daniela, you weren't here, but we did give some of that input from the last time, which is a little more general, but more specifically, the first element of it that we talked about had to do with materials and what materials would be allowed in swales, and in terms of permeable versus non-permeable, so, asphalt, concrete, gravel. So one of the things that we talked about was trying to minimize or eliminate altogether the use of impermeable surfaces in the soil. So
Before the
that's
commissioner leaves, I do have a quick question, if you guys don't mind, on the agenda. Do you mind just filling us in on, if I'm assuming the background behind the study that was done for the design changes around the park and the parking? Because on our last board meeting, we didn't quite know where that came from and what the concerns are from the residents. No, I appreciate your input. Thank you. Yes, I saw you. Please feel free. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for coming. Yep.
That was it. I just wanted to catch you before you left.
I did have one very quick question. So with regards to the swales, the timeline of that. So I know there was already one discussion at the last commission meeting. Is there's going to be another discussion and then an ordinance is going to go through, or? Oh, you didn't actually have it. Okay. 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 Really? Okay. 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 What's already there? No. Okay. Got it.
Because money is a big driver, it will be possible for Biscayne Park Village maybe to do some deal contract with some official supplier where all the inhabitants of Biscayne Park administration use this one at discounted price. So for for this cover to find one solution can fit and can be a standard for the village, for the private and for the public. Now we are looking to have many solution every time discuss it be kind of biological asphalt, not impermeable and things. But maybe there is some solution can fit and just maintain a standard if you find a good deal with a supplier. So like we commit buy from there because this is the approved solution. I will try. Mhm.
Right. The government can't.
Sure. So what is the most efficient way to help on that? Because if the money is the big things, every time we will go for money, you go for the cheapest solution or the most affordable is not ecological most of the time.
Thank you. Really? It'll be worthwhile in the end. It will be worthwhile in the end. Thanks, Commissioner.
Again, your name, Judy. So maybe I can forward to you. I saw this email I sent to McDonald, or it will be automatically shared between commissioners. Okay. No, because I'm still struggling a little bit to understand, like with my colleague in the Ecology board, we can only talk here. I cannot talk. So I'm afraid to send something. Yeah.
You can reach out.
Yeah. Good.
Yep.
Perfect.
Imagine. Really? I didn't know that. Not surprising. Not surprising.
Thank you.
Please introduce Barbara.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't want to keep us here too late. There's a couple of items here that we can go to next time. No, absolutely. They had this $14,000 that was like burning a hole in the commission's pocket, and they decided to spend it on that. I don't know what else, you know. So the thing is that
They spent $14,000.
yeah. From what I understand, that's what it was. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Yeah.
They have no 49,000 for a solar system.
I'm pretty sure that's what that was. Yeah. There it had to do with the way that the budget is set up. There's like certain pockets in the budget that can only be spent on certain things, and you can sort of like bend it in a certain way as long as it falls within that category. And this fell within the category. I think it was just money that they had to do something like that because they had put it in the budget like for several years and it had never been done. I think they had that money already set aside in the budget for many years. That was for the recreation center, the parking, the study that they did with the proposal for the different the parking master plan. But mhm. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Mhm.
Right. I think that people normally park where they're gonna park. I mean, maybe do some upgrades of putting, the bumper guards or whatever, what are those concrete, like, the parking space things, and then, some type of boundary around the trees or something.
Yeah. Mhm.
Well, minor improvements and making sure ADA, ADA is compliant around the park, for getting in and out and handicap parking, but that's way different than what we saw in that plan. When I saw that plan, I was like, there's no way we even have the money, and I wasn't involved in any of the budgeting for it, but.
Yeah.
I mean, people park and turn their car off. It's not like they should be sitting there running their vehicle, so.
Okay. Mm, right.
Is that something that I know we have our own little park. I don't know the official name of that board that we have, but is that something that they're aware of? Maybe they have people on, Parks and Rec board. That's ridiculous. No, they can't stump grind them. Like, that's special. Right. So maybe the forest grant may even, you could probably use some money for grinding and.
Well, I mean, the only thing that I'll say is that we have a lot of money. Um, that doesn't mean that it's being properly allocated, but a bunch of houses are being sold right now at astronomical values, and the tax assessments on those homes are going to be astronomical compared to what they are now. So we have a lot of money that's going to be coming into the park. And so even if we don't have it this year, it's a matter of putting it into the budget and having a champion in the commission that's willing to put those items in there. So I do think that we can do some of these bigger things that we want to do because we do have money. That this is not a poor neighborhood. We have a lot of money from tax revenues, and I think we can do some things. So let's go ahead and adjourn because we're like way over our time. But thanks for coming, and likewise. Did anybody else have anything else that you wanted to discuss?
I mean, just some of the updates on the tree stuff that we talked about last
Yeah.
time, but I'm fine if we talk about it next month.
It seems like it's,
Exhausted right
I
now.
thought that they had already talked about these things in the commission anyway. I know they had like a public workshop, but it seems like they're not doing anything this second. So maybe we can talk about it next time, but we should talk about it because we should at least give our input on.
Yeah, no, definitely. I was from the last meeting. I've just been really swamped at work, so I haven't had 2 seconds to do anything. So I apologize. But I did do a little bit of research on that, and kind of one of the things that we talked about was following up with the county attorney, potentially what could we do legally to require the notification to the village prior to removing a specimen tree. So I did, I didn't reach out to Mario because I wanted to do a little research, and I saw exactly what the city of Coral Gables attorney did for that. And so I think what we could do, and I'll put it on the agenda for the next one. And it's like the actual document is there's verbiage in there on their interpretation of it. So what I think that what we should do is send that to our attorney and see if he agrees with it, similar language,
Yeah.
which says the House bill says that you, as a municipality, you can't require notification as long as the homeowner has done it legally through an arborist letter. But the city of Coral Gables has their own interpretation, that they are going to encourage residents to provide, I guess it's not notification because that's what it says. It specifically says you can't require, but it's something like some type of documentation. Let's say documentation instead of notification. Documentation that they're, they've done their, the arborist has provided the letter and it's in compliance with the Florida statutes and the House bill, and that they're just giving this to the village to notify them so that they don't get in trouble. For instance, if code compliance drove by and saw that the tree was being removed, so that the village is aware and code compliance could be aware. So, but that would require that, that something is legally done within our code. So it's like a implementation of an order. So that would be an ordinance that would be, amended to go into our code that would, and then obviously notifying the residents that we recommend that you provide us documentation prior to removal of any specimen trees under that bill. So just to let everybody know, I know that Senate bill it's back on the floor. I guess some of the municipalities have really are going after it, saying, unjust, and it's, taking away our legal rights as municipalities. And so it could change, and I think that they're in favor of it, like these minor modifications, meaning that they would have to provide notification to municipalities or get a some type of authorization from whatever tree regulatory permit it is. So that may change in the upcoming months, but I think still in the meantime, since it's such a huge issue here in the village and it's ever going, every second I turn around, there's another tree being taken down, that we could still, it may change, but I still would like to make the initiative in case it doesn't change.
Yeah.
So I'm working on that. I don't
Okay.
have anything, but maybe
Yeah.
for the next time I'll have some language that we could present to Mario.
Yeah.
See how, how, if it has to go before the board or whatnot. I'm assuming it does. So
Yeah.
that, and then I did start looking at the landscape ordinance because that's kind of where we're going to, like, we're not going to have our own tree permitting program. We don't have the funds or the staffing to be able to do our own tree permitting program. Just going with what you said, is making sure that it's in our code to say that we, the village of Biscayne Park, needs to follow the Miami-Dade County Code tree tree program in an ordinance for removing trees and getting tree permits, but also in order to protect the existing landscape in order to replenish our canopy is through a landscape ordinance. So I did quickly look into our code, and it's really non-existent.
Yeah.
So I think that what we could do is really amp that up to what we were talking about is through all the new redevelopment is requiring and making sure that it's a regulatory, process here in the village to make sure that there's landscaping requirements so that people who are redeveloping to a certain extent or total redevelopment or new development have to plant so many trees, and so many trees of them have to be native and of specific size and grade and so forth, as other municipalities in Miami-Dade County have. And I think another thing in here, which I kind of started looking into, was drainage requirements for development. I didn't really see too much. That wasn't really my main focus, but I think that I'm gonna take the lead on that and continue to do that. But
Yeah.
I just wanted to kind of give you guys an update that 'cause last time we spoke, we were like not clear about it, but
Yeah.
it's too vague and there's not enough language in our existing code to enforce anything like that or to even require that from what I saw, but it was a quick review.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for looking into that. Let's definitely discuss it more next time.
That's all I have. Thank you guys.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else? A motion to adjourn?
Second.
Oh, yeah. Next meeting is gonna be March 15th.
Hold on, let me go to the bottom of my note. March
March 15th, 7 p.m.
15th.
Yep. All right.
Adjourn.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
No, so that's the new statute that as long as you have a letter from an arborist, you are allowed to remove a tree, specimen or non-specimen, as long as it says that it's within it's a safety hazard or health, it's bad health. Right, exactly. So I guess